So make sure you got your blocks nearby and you strap. Or you start sitting into a position that you prefer, sitting on your heels, sitting on the floor with the legs crossed, whichever you prefer. And on your inhale, you stretch your arms up, cross your fingers, and then stretch them all the way up. All the way up till the end of your inhale, and on your exhale, slowly release. And then repeat. Inhale, stretch all the way up. Extend your spine, open up the rib cage. Exhale, release your arms down. Extend the arm, feel the compression all the way down to your hips and the lower back, and exhale, release. Continue, stretch your arms all the way up, and then slowly bend to the side. Don't go too far, you're just opening up the upper part of the spine. Inhale, come up, exhale, bend to the other side. Inhale, back to the center. Exhale, release your arms down. Repeat again, 2 more times. Inhale, stretch both arms up. Keep your elbows straight. Stretch your fingers and then bend to the side. Pulling, imagine that you're pushing against the wall. On your inhale, come up. Exhale, bend to the other side. Push against the invisible wall. Inhale, come back to the center. And then we'll repeat 1 more time on each side. Inhale, stretch your arms up. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. From here, you bring your arms behind you. Try to grab your elbows, your forearms. And then let's just bring the chin down. Stretch in the back of the neck and then bring the chin back and all the way up. On your inhale. And then chin forward and down on your exhale. Do 1 more circle and then we change directions. So try to feel each one of your 7 vertebrae in the neck moving, and then change directions. Just bring the chin down on your exhale and forward, and then up and back on your inhale. Do 1 more circle. Excellent. Bring your head back to neutral. Cross your fingers together behind your back. And then open up the chest on your inhale. Gaze up. On your exhale, round the spine. And then try to stretch your arms all the way up. Inhale, pull your arms back. Stretch the chin up. Open up the heart. Exhale, round the spine. And then stretch your arms all the way up. 1 more time. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale, sit up. And then uncross your fingers and just roll the shoulders up and down. Pulling down and then exaggerating. Try to drag them all the way up to your ears, all the way back, trying to feel shoulder blades moving toward each other, down. Then shoulder blades spreading away from each other as you're moving forward, up, back and down. And then you go the other way. You move down, back, squeeze your shoulder blades together, up and then forward. And just follow your breath, your inhale, stretch the rib cage, and then exhale, round the spine. Good. Now you bring your palms up, next to each other, outer part of the hands next to each other. Then you inhale, stretch your arms forward. And on your exhale, you open your arms to the side. Just gonna make a few rotations with the arms, keeping your arms horizontal, fingers straight. You roll forward on your exhale and you roll back on your inhale. And again, you want to just connect to the movement of your shoulder blades. Now, when we talk about the stability of the spine, shoulder blades and hip bones work together. It's important to connect them both girdle, and be aware of what's moving and what's not moving. So here, just feel your shoulder blades moving up as you're rolling your arms forward. Feel your shoulder blades going down as you're rolling your arms back. So you inhale back, exhale forward, lifting the shoulders. Inhale, roll shoulders back. And try to go into maximum amplitude of rotation that you have. Elbows are straight and fingers are straight. All right, and now you inhale. At the end of your inhale, you stretch your arms all the way up. Connect your wrists together and try to extend your elbows. Now, make sure that you're not trying to curve and arch from the lower back, so just tilt the hips backward a little bit. And continue pushing your arms all the way up. Two more breaths. And on your exhale, lower your hands in front of your heart, and then you press your wrists together, fingers together as you're lowering down. Inhale, release. Bring your hands back in front of your heart, and then repeat. Exhale, press down. Inhale, release. And exhale, press down. And then we switch. Fingers pointing down, and then you exhale, press up. Watch for your shoulders. Keep the shoulders down as you're bending the elbows. Inhale, release. Exhale, press down. Press up. And then one more time. And then from here, you can shake your hands a little bit. All right, and then we're gonna finish with a few rotations on the forearms. So let's just bring the right arm over the left one, arm straight. You rotate so palms are connected with each other. Cross your fingers together. And on your inhale, you bend your elbows. Try to bring your hands forward as you're re-extending the elbows. And then you stretch the neck by looking up. On your exhale, you come back to the initial position. And then you repeat. Bend the elbows and then try to stretch without losing the grip of your fingers, and gaze up. Exhale, release. Inhale. Exhale. Two more. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. You can relax the grip. Shake your hands again. And shaking is just going to help trying to undo whatever is stuck in the forearms. Shake the bones. And then now the left arm goes over the right one. Rotate so the palms can connect with each other. Cross your fingers. Don't let it go. And then bend the elbows. Go under. And then try to stretch again. And then reach up with your head. Exhale, come back. Inhale. Exhale, come back. Inhale. Exhale, come back. And for the health of your shoulders, Watch for the wrist. Exhale, come back one more time. All right. And then you let go of the grip. You shake your hands again. And then you lay down on your back for a moment. You might want to have your strap with you for one of the exercises. And then keep your block nearby. So let's just start with the back flat on the ground, knees bent, and with a block between the knees. Block between the knees, so the knees stay hips width distance apart. So we don't want the knees in, we don't want the knees too far out, or the feet together. Feet and knees will have the block. All right. We want one block away from each other to keep the same distance as the hips width. Now we tilt the hips forward on inhale, curving the lower back, and then tilt the hips back on your exhale, flattening the back, the belly, and then gently dragging the pubic bone towards the sternum. Imagine the distance between the pubic bone and sternum just getting shorter. And then you repeat. And the whole time we just want to hold onto the block. We don't want to squeeze hard, we just want to tonify the muscle on the inside, remind them to work, and hold the block as you're tilting the hips back and forward. So inhale, expand the belly, just curve the back, give it some space, tilt the hips forward. Exhale, flatten the lower back, give space to the lower back as you're engaging the deep core muscles. And always remind yourself to check on your belly. If you see your belly popping up as you're exhaling and engaging the core, then you might actually be pushing too much, and it might put too much pressure on the pelvis floor also. And when the belly is wide, open, and tense, then there's too much pressure in the abdomen. So we want to really suck the belly in, try to flatten the belly completely as we're rocking the hips back and forth. And plus going to help pump the blood into the abdomen, because there could be some stagnancy in there, into our internal organs, in the muscles around, securing the area around the abdomen, the hips, the pelvis floor. They could be also very tense and stagnant. So it's good to mobilize all that area. Then the next step is that we tilting the hips back, flattening the low back on the ground. Try to feel all vertebrae flattening themselves, maybe even pressing onto the floor, and then start lifting the tailbone and then the hips off the ground. And we keep that whole area flat. So we do this at the end of the exhale. And then on the inhale, we place the hips down, curve it again. Then exhale, flatten the lower back, tilt the hips back, lift the tailbone first, sacrum, and then lumbar. 5, 4, 3, 2, all the way up to 1. So good sign is if you feel your glutes and your hamstrings working. That means that you're really tilting the hips back. So repeat that a few more times. Inhale, open up. Exhale, flatten tailbone, sacrum, and hips. Then inhale, we place it down. 2 more times. And on the last one, we're just going to stay up and hold the pose for that 4 or 5 breaths. Without losing the stability. So continue engaging your hamstrings. Imagine that you're pulling your feet towards you. You want to engage the hamstrings, so make sure that you're pressing all 10 toes down. And breathing slowly. And don't lose the block. One more breath. And then one vertebra at a time. On your inhale, you place it down. Now let's start again, but this time we're gonna try to lift one foot off the ground. So on your exhale, flatten the low back. Continue exhaling as you're lifting the tailbone, sacrum, and all the way up the hips. And then press onto your left foot. Try to lift the right foot off the floor. Extending the leg. Hold it there, and then the challenge to not drop the hip down. And then repeat. Place the foot down. Extend the left leg. Hold the block, and then watch if the hips are dropping. And then we place the foot down. Extend the right leg. Hold the hips on the same level. We place it down one more time on the left side. Try to extend the left leg and make sure that you're trying to control the hips, the core, and the lower back. And then we place the foot down. On your inhale, we place the hips and then hug the knees into your chest. Rounding the spine. So put the block to the side. Rock your lower back from side to side. And then now forward and back. So round the spine and then try to roll. On your exhale, you lift up. Inhale on your back. Exhale, lift. Inhale. Exhale, lift. Good. And then you're going to stay sitting from now. Get your block again and then place it between your knees. Same thing, just going to hold the block, okay, tight. And we start sitting because it's easier than just trying to get up. Going to just, on the exhale, tilt the hips back like we have been doing on the floor. Lowering the tailbone, the sacrum. One vertebra, 2 vertebrae, 3 vertebrae, all the way to the floor. Or we could do it reverse. On the exhale, tilt the hips back, press the lower back on the ground, and then lift one vertebra at a time. But it's possible that for now, there could be some lines of the core who are actually not inactive, but a little bit lazy. So we might be able to lift the shoulders, and at some point, there's no more strength to lift up for the rest of the core. I mean, there's levels on the core that might not be working as much as we want them to be working. So continue practicing the tilt and the control as you're lowering down. Don't try to think about staying up today, but instead master lowering down first and controlling all the way down. It might take a while, and we can always use some help. If you only have a block at home, that can be a pillow or so, whatever. You choose the height, choose where you can place it, and I can give you a limit. Oh, maybe you control all the way up here. You put the block behind the back, and it will help you also lift up, so you don't have to start all the way down. So think about tilting the hips back, holding the pubic bone and sucking the belly in, and then control on your exhale. Once you hit the block, you inhale, and then on your exhale, hold the belly in, and then try to control as you're lifting up. And then you repeat. Don't get frustrated if you don't go all the way down. Imagine your core with different stories. We got 5 stories, 5 vertebrae. Maybe we can round level 4, level 5, but maybe at some point once we hit level 3, level 2, the back tends to be flat, and that means that the core is a little bit weaker right there. So one step at a time. Always on the exhale. And if you take it slow all the way to the exhale, you don't need to repeat a lot to really feel the core working. Keep the feet well grounded. Let's repeat a few more times. And again, work with your block or not, or depending on blankets, you can have different levels. Make your wedge. Okay, the ideal would be have to have a wedge. And one more time, and this time you're gonna finish on your back. You can remove the block. And we're gonna do this exercise one more time after this, but first we're gonna get that strap. Buckle the strap and place it behind your back, right underneath the shoulders. I'm gonna use the strap to place both feet in there. And make sure I get the thing on the good side. Oh, it's not about stretching. We're not here to stretch the back of the legs, so give it enough space for the legs to be comfortable. Place your feet in the strap. We're just using the strap here to help you have more feedback as we're working on the core. So let's just place the feet up. And what we want here, when we trigger what is below the navel. So hands next to the hips, feet against the strap. On your exhale, you're gonna tilt the hips back, press the lower back on the ground, and then push the feet against the strap. Always possibility, if you do not feel your lower back at all touching the ground, to slide the blanket underneath. So that you elevate a little bit your lower back, but at least you have the contact with something. And it's going to be easier to recruit the muscles. But same idea. If you want to make it easier, you can lift the head up, shoulders up, and then push the feet towards the strap. And that's going to make the tailbone lift. And that's all we want. We don't want to necessarily go higher than this. Just want to flatten the belly, and on the exhale, you just let the tailbone lift. You can always tighten the strap more if you need. And let's try to do this 10 times. Exhale, press the lower back on the ground or on your blanket, and then push the feet against the strap. Here we're trying to really recruit the muscles below the navel. Usually those are the laziest. And then push on the exhale. You can lift the head up. That's going to help recruit more muscles. Just on the exhale. Make sure that your belly stays flat. Inhale on the ground. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And that's it. Don't get frustrated if your tailbone doesn't lift today. Just continue tilting the hips, trying to feel the lower back against your blanket or your support, and then continue recruiting the muscles right there. Even if nothing is lifting, visualize Give it directions to your legs and to your lower back. And 3 more times. This is really good feedback for the brain and for you to understand more about your lower back and the hips. And one more time. Excellent. You keep your strap, liberate your left foot, and then use now the direction of the right leg of the strap to lift up. You can keep the left leg straight or bend it a little bit. So basically we're doing the same work. We exhale, lower the lower back down, inhale on the ground, exhale, push your right foot against the strap to help you lift. You can use your hands a little bit. Exhale, lower the lower back down. Inhale on the floor, exhale, lift up. Same thing, you can absolutely use your blanket, your wedge, or your block underneath your back. And then one more time. Then we switch legs. Right. Again, just trying to do one vertebra at a time, one vertebra at a time. And then we switch. Try the other leg. You see it's very different. Even if the core seems to be symmetrical, we always have one side might be actually weaker than the other side, depending on the hips. You don't have to have the leg straight, okay? They can be bent. And then you lift by pushing with the foot. So same rules apply with the lower back. You roll, you exhale, and then you try to lift. And maybe you're going to feel like, well, okay, that's where I'm stopping, and I just come back down. Maybe you can make your way all the way and continue pushing your foot. Your foot is going to really help by pushing onto the strap to lift up. If you use the block, same thing. It gives you a limit, control on your exhale, as you're lowering down and as you're lifting. What's interesting is that to realize that depending on which leg we're using, the core doesn't react the same way. The asymmetry sometimes can be huge. Okay, 2 more. Continue tilting the hips back. That's all we want for now. Just trying to find engagement of our deep core. Exhale. All right, and once you've done that, you finish sitting. Hold your balance, bring both feet in the strap, and then pull onto the strap to end up in a boat position. The block can also be here to help you figure out your balance. You could hold on the strap, or you can just keep your arms to the side, feet together. The knees might be bent, they might be straight. Extend the spine. Let's just stay here for a good 6 breaths. That's a great way to reinforce the hip flexors. So rotate your feet towards each other. So the strap should be keeping your feet together. And then breathe deeply. Two more breaths. And then slowly lower your feet down. Remove the strap. and get on your hands and knees position. Now let's take a moment in a wide-legged child's pose. So open the legs wide. Keep your hands on the blocks, stretch them forward, and then lower the hips down. Or just relax your belly. That's going to help the lower back to relax and the hips as well. And then walk your hands to the left side of the blocks and then stretch the whole right side of the body. And then now walk your hands to the right side, stretching the whole left side of the body. Good. You can replace your hands back to the center. And then walk your knees together. Keep your hands on the blocks. Roll the spine up as you climb onto tabletop on you. Inhale and slowly drop the hips in between the blocks to extend the whole spine. Pull shoulders back. Exhale, press onto your shoulders and then sit back onto child's pose. And then repeat that another 5-6 times. Inhale, extend. Stretch the whole spine, and then here you just want to relax your glutes. Just want to let the spine extend completely and give a nice stretch to your whole front line and back and forth. And that's really good, this pumping action between extension, flexion, compression, extension, stretching, flexion, compression. That's going to help, again, remove any kind of stagnancy that we have around the lower back area and the hips. So realize also that your legs might be willing to just roll out as you're stretching forward and roll back in as you're stretching back. So relax your hips completely, let your legs do whatever they need to do. And then one more time on the last one. I'm going to take a nice downward dog. Hands still on the blocks to give us some space. And then walk your feet back and lift the hips up. And we're just going to alternate between pigeon toes, which means with the feet turning towards each other, and then Charlie Chaplin's feet, the feet turning on the outside. Okay. Every time we want to just ground the heels, but we also want to find a nice neutral space for the lower back. So press into your arms. Don't try to tilt the hips up, but the tailbone up. Instead, just roll the hips back and forth until you find a nice flat spot for the lower back. And then you press the heels down, and then you alternate. Turn your feet out. Press the heels. Turn your feet in. Press the heels. Doesn't mean that you have to get the knees straight. Knees can be bent. Knees out. Feet in. Feet out. press. Feel in. One more time. Feet out. And feet in. All right, turn your feet out and then walk one foot forward, then the other one. One step at a time, walking your feet towards your blocks. With the feet rotate out. And then you walk back. Press one leg at a time, like you're walking with the leg straight, or almost straight. And then repeat with the feet turned in, walking the feet forward, and then back. I'll give it a rest to the shoulders and the wrist, and if you feel like you're a little tired there, nothing wrong by taking a child's pose in between the exercises. However, keep our mind focused. There you go. And then at the end, you drop the knees down. And again, taking another wide-legged child's pose. Hand can still be on the blocks. Just want to stretch forward. Relax the hips down. Okay, you can walk your knees back together, and this time use your blocks to lift onto your knees. Come onto your knees, place your hands on the blocks, and then cross the right knee forward. Lift the hips forward, bring them back, and then walk the left knee in front of the right one. Move the hips forward, move them back. Walk the right knee forward, hips and back, left knee forward, back and forth, very good. Now we're going walking back. All the exercises that you've done before really helps build up awareness around the lower back, and you want to use this every time you're doing something with the hips. Rotation in, out. Catch yourself if you feel like you're going back to arching instead of just moving the hips, arching the back. We're actually preventing the hips from doing anything. So we want the hips here to move, not the back to compensate for the lack of motions from the hips. Okay. And after that, you step the right foot forward into a lunge. Bring both hands inside the right foot. Allow your hips to lower down and drop. And then slowly you turn the right foot out, and that's going to make the left hip drop. And then you come back to your lunge. Rotate the right foot, slowly drop the hips. You don't have to touch the ground. And then so you come back to lunge. Rotate the right foot out. Let your left hip drop slowly. And then come back. 3 more times. You take your time. That's an excellent way to open up all that psoas area on the back hip. And you're stretching the side of the low back, Just watch for not collapsing from the shoulders instead. Press onto your shoulders to keep your torso long and the chest lifted. One more time, drop it. Okay, and first, we're gonna press onto our hands in the blocks and then step the right foot back into downward dog, getting into a pigeon toes position. Pressing the heels down. And then walking again the feet forward. One tiny step at a time. Every time you're pressing one heel down, moving the foot forward, one heel down. As close as you can get, and then walk your feet back. So pigeon toes, and repeat, the feet are turned towards the inside. Good. And then from there, we're stepping the left foot forward. Dropping the right knee down, and now placing both hands on the inside of the left foot. Okay, so same thing. We rotate that left foot 90 degrees or maybe even 45 degrees, depending on how far these hips allow you to go. Turn the foot out, drop the right hip, press onto your shoulders, come back to lunge. So allow the hips to drop. We want a nice extension on the back leg as we're rotating back and forth. So rotate on your exhale, it's going to help the release. Nice long exhale. Inhale, come back. Exhale. Inhale. 3 more times. Always follow the rhythm of your breath. Don't try to go faster than this. It could take a while for the hips to regain their mobility. Excellent. And then same thing, we're just going to press back to downward dog to do a pigeon toe position. So the toes towards each other and the heels apart. And then press the heels in one baby step at a time. You're walking 1 foot forward, 1 foot forward, pressing, 1 foot forward, pressing. And then you're walking them back, 1 baby step at a time. Very good. Okay, walk your hands back towards your feet. And then open your feet wide. There you go. And you are in that forward fold. I like to keep my toes turned in because it helps give more room to the lower back. And then we just fold forward. You still have your blocks. You might want to keep your hands on the blocks or lower further down with your elbows on it. And then rest here. And as always, if you feel like your hamstrings a little bit of, tense or stiff, don't force on them, because if you do, then your lower back is going to have to compensate again. What we want is just to give enough room for the hips to be able to tilt forward and allow ourselves to move down. So feel free to bend the knees anytime you feel you're lacking space. And we're just going to shift the hips to the left and to the right, back and forth. So we're exactly in the same position. We just want to play around with the hips, back and forth. So keep some support on your blocks. Mobilize the hips to the right, to the left. Excellent. And then press onto your hands. Bring the heels in, toes out. Not completely, just 45 degrees. Place your hands onto your knees and then lift yourself up. And then bend the knees to drop the hips into a horse stance position. What you want in the horse stance to feel the stability. Okay, so if you feel like you're too wide open, you're kind of lacking stability, then just bring the feet in a little bit. And then hands on the knees here, we press onto the left knee, fold forward on the exhale, and then inhale, lift the chest and rotate to the right. Look over your right shoulder. Exhale, move forward, press against the right knee, turn to the left on your inhale. Look over your left shoulder. Exhale, repeat, forward, press onto your left knee and then rotate to the right. Exhale, forward, press against the right knee, rotate to the left. One more time, forward, turn to the right on your inhale. Exhale, forward, press against the right knee, turn to the left on your inhale. And then back to the center, and then we press up to stand up. All right, hands on your belly. Tilt the hips back just a little bit. And take a few deep breaths. Now the placement of the lower back is very interesting as you're standing up. So doing the next pose that we're going to do, we're going to try to keep again awareness around that area. Because again, if we don't have awareness right there, we might compensate and then continue shortening the hips, compressing the lower back, shortening the waistline, and then lacking tonus from the pelvis floor as well. So it's not about having the lower back rounded, it's just about trying to find a neutral place where the spine has space, where the vertebrae can have space, and where we feel like there is a sort of an integration of the hips, pelvis floor, lower back all together with the core. So there is, again, stability. So let's go back to horse stance. Tilt the hips back, and then with your hand, feel the flat spot, flat lower back. And when I say flat spot, it's just neutral. Open the feet, 45 degrees out, and then bend the knees without changing a thing about your lower back. And then sit down. Once you feel like this is good, this is integrated, all working together, you can place your hands in front of your heart and then hold the pose for 6 breaths. Realize that if the hips are weak or the legs are weak, boom, we have a tendency to push the hips back. But here we try to keep it neutral. 3 more breaths. So breathe deep from your diaphragm. That's the pumping here. It's going to help the blood to flow, oxygen to come in. All right, inhale, extend the legs. Bring your hands back in front of your belly. And breathe deep. So remind yourself to not lock your knees, because that also contributes to sort of a tension in that area. And then we're going to finish with the warrior 2 position. Same, up, neutral. Keep your hand behind your low back to make sure. Open your feet wide. Turn both feet to the right side. Bend the right knee. Left leg stays straight. And it's so easy on the warrior 2 because suddenly we're opening the hips some more. Because we're opening the inside, this tends to drag a lot of things forward. So resist. Deep core engage, like all the exercise you've done before. Use that to control. Once you feel like your tailbone is tucked under, you can liberate your arms. And again, we breathe from the diaphragm and open that space. The diaphragm works with the psoas all together. Three more breaths. Inhale, extend the right leg. Relax the shoulders. You can breathe here for a moment. Maybe replace your back. Then inhale, open your shoulders. Turn both feet to the left. And then keeping all that place stable. We bend the left knee. And then inhale, extend the leg. Exhale, bring your feet back. 2, mountain pose. Stable, neutral. Relax your shoulders. Okay, you might want to keep your blocks as we're lowering ourselves down for the side squat. Open the legs wide. Fold forward, place your hands on the block, and then bend the right knee. Move the hips to the right. Bend the left knee. Move the hips to the left. Repeating that to help soften the hips. Lowering down a little bit more and more. And then blocks can be here to help you sit down. Whatever you need. 2, 3, 1, 0. So we want to end up into a side squat. One leg straight, the other one bends, and we drop the hips towards the foot. You can keep your elbow, your hand against your knee to help open up. Sometimes the heel will not drop. It can take time for the ankle to open up. Slide a wedge or a blanket underneath the heel to help you stay stable. Once you are in the position, Rotate the straight leg out and then forward. Out and forward. Now we keep the awareness around the lower back, of course. Now usually in an open squat like this, the back is pretty long, so we don't have to worry too much about it. So keep rotating the hip back and forth. So it's not just the foot, it's the whole leg. You want to feel it moving here. If you place your hand right in the hip crest, you want to feel it pulling back and then forward, back, forward, and then we can repeat on the other side. Back, forward, do this 2 times on each side. Mobilizing the hip. It's going to relieve a lot of pressure from the lower back. Help replace the internal organs in the right place. Make sure you do it twice on each side. Take the time to switch. Excellent. Switch back to the other side. And now from this position, we're moving on to a lunge. Moving the knee forward, past the ankle. Just getting some space to the hip. And then you can switch to the other side. Going back to that squat position. Press up. And then drop the hip into that lunge. Same thing, just like twice on each side. Just to get into the pose, allowing the knee to move a little bit further than the ankle. Switch one more time on each side. Remember, transitions are important. And then one more time on the other side. And then you can rest the hips into another child's pose. Nice and easy. And then you deserve to be on your back. You grab your strap again. Get on your back. You're gonna place that strap the same way. Behind the back, quite high on the shoulders, right underneath the arms. Now it's possible that it's just not gonna work. In that case, you just use the strap the normal way, just hold it with your hands. But it's quite interesting to not use the shoulders to hold the legs up. And let's just place both feet in. Now we want to stretch. So if you like to just pull onto the strap some more, then you go ahead, as long as it doesn't affect your lower back. So if the hips are lifting because the hamstrings are a little tight, then place a blanket underneath the hips so they have a support, and then loosen your strap a little bit so you have a chance to extend the knees without pulling hard on your back. So don't hesitate to lower your legs further down if you need to. But either way, you got to make sure that you have something underneath the hips, whatever it is, the floor or a blanket. Let's just stretch both arms back. And then stay here for a good 10 breaths. Upside down positions are always great to improve the circulation. To wash off whatever refuses to move, all the toxins. And I always say, once we start giving a rest to the back, then the experience is a lot more pleasant, because it relaxes the whole nervous system. So you can give it a nice rest. 5 more breaths. You just let your belly breathe easily, expand. Remember that your breath is your primary pump in the body to help the blood to flow and the whole lymphatic system to flow. Okay, let's start with our left leg. Let's just rest the right leg on the ground. You choose whichever you prefer, to just lower the right knee out or to lower the right leg straight, align with the body. And then we just stretch, lower the left leg to the left side. So you can lower your arms to the side now. And don't let the left leg pull your hips out of balance. So try to keep the right hip connected to the floor. If it's hard with the leg straight, then just bend the right knee and pull it out into butterfly. That's another really good way to improve circulation anyway, and to keep more stability. So again, relax your abdomen. Let it breathe. The spine is secured. It's on the floor. So you can really let your abdomen breathe freely, without control. All right, and pull the left leg up. And then switch, placing the right foot in now. And again, pick the place for your left leg to be, either straight or left knee bent, and then you stretch it out to butterfly, and then you lower the right leg down on your exhale. Okay, you can slowly pull that right leg back up. And then relax now, both legs on the floor. Into Savasana. And then rest here.